Coming in, I mean, unfortunately, we knew it was going to be a little messy, but it's just something we felt important that had to be done, that should be done. So, but like I said, yeah, just some accountability.
Is there a motion to terminate Chief Freeman?
Get ready for some explosive details because this latest scandal involving Tiffany Henyard is one for the history books. Imagine being the mayor of a small town, expected to lead with integrity and vision. But instead, your days are filled with court orders, restraining orders, federal investigations, and a crowd of increasingly furious citizens demanding that you step down. That's exactly what's happening to Tiffany Henyard, the embattled mayor of Dolton, Illinois, and the supervisor of Thorndon Township. Henyard, once a promising political figure, has been caught up in a whirlwind of controversy that seems to grow by the day. Local residents who once supported her are now protesting in the streets, disillusioned by what they see as a misuse of public trust and resources. Multiple investigations have been launched, with some delving into serious allegations of financial mismanagement and intimidation tactics. Court orders and restraining orders have stacked up against her, leaving her administration in chaos and her reputation on a rapid downward spiral. As pressure mounts, Henyard has yet to step forward with answers, fueling even more anger and frustration among Dolton residents. From accusations of lavish spending to alleged corruption, the situation has left many in Dolton and Thorndon Township questioning how someone in her position could amass such power and what lengths she might go to keep it. As federal investigations deepen, the question on everyone's mind is how much longer can Henyard hold on to her role in the face of mounting legal and public opposition? This saga has become a gripping example of a small-town leader embroiled in big-time controversy, leaving a community waiting for answers and justice.
Guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany Henyard, the People's Mayor and People's Supervisor.
But let's not rush past the layers of this story. This scandal is steeped in drama, betrayal, and mounting legal fire. Let's dig in and unravel the details. First, the latest hit to Tiffany Henyard's embattled leadership came when a Cook County judge issued a restraining order, halting her push to appoint critical roles within the township: a new police chief, village attorney, and village administrator. But it's not just the blocked appointments that raise eyebrows here. It's how Henyard tried to install these individuals, bypassing any semblance of standard procedure. Instead of gaining approval from the Board of Trustees or involving the public, she acted unilaterally, sparking concerns about a glaring overreach of power. Henyard's swift attempt to force these key figures into office has angered residents and local officials alike, setting off a new wave of tension in Dolton. This isn't her first brush with controversy. Henyard's tenure has already been marked by allegations of financial mismanagement, misuse of township resources, and ongoing federal investigations. But this time, her attempt to centralize power has taken the situation to a whole new level, putting her in direct conflict with the courts and her constituents. The situation unfolding around Henyard's actions hints at a deeper struggle for control within Dolton's local government. As she attempts to consolidate power, public sentiment against her continues to swell. Critics argue that her moods have less to do with improving the community and more to do with securing her own political grip. With each decision, Henyard seems to grow more isolated, facing not only legal battles, but also a mounting loss of trust from those she was elected to serve. As federal investigations continue and her legal troubles deepen, many are left wondering how far Henyard will go to protect her position. Will a restraining order be the beginning of a forced accountability, or will she somehow manage to evade the consequences yet again? In a small town with big political waves, Henyard's journey may be a case study in power, influence, and ultimately, the high cost of unchecked authority.
Last month, a judge issued a temporary restraining order blocking her from making those appointments without approval from trustees.
The judge didn't hold back, making it clear that Henyard's appointments were not only illegal but a blatant disregard for proper procedure. He emphasized that the mayor has to follow the law, pointing out that she can't simply make appointments from her own living room. Imagine that a sitting mayor publicly called out in court. This decision wasn't a mere slap on the wrist. It was a direct rebuke of Henyard's attempt at a power play. Her chosen village administrator, Michael Smith, along with police chief Ronnie Burris and attorney Stacks, were left out in the cold, barred from stepping into the roles they'd been promised.
Court. The judge today declining to hold her in contempt, but did warn her that if she did not follow the ruling, he would.
And as if things couldn't get any messier, the judge's ruling came with a strong warning. If Mayor Henyard continues allowing these appointees to show up at Village Hall, she could face serious contempt of court charges. Imagine the drama: the sitting mayor of Dolton, already embattled with investigations, now at risk of legal repercussions just for letting her picks into the building. This judge's decision wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was a major rebuke of Henyard's attempt to sidestep the law and consolidate her power. Now, why would Henyard go to such extreme lengths to push these appointments through in the first place? It's all about control. With her hand-picked team, Michael Smith as village administrator, Ronnie Burr as police chief, and attorney Stacks by her side, she could have wielded nearly unchecked authority over Dolton. These roles aren't minor after all. They hold sway over everything from local policing to legal matters and village administration. With her allies in those positions, Henyard could have reshaped the town to suit her own vision, cutting through any opposition and sidestepping her critics. But now, all of that power has slipped through her fingers. The judge's ruling not only blocks her from filling those key positions, but it also sends a message that even as mayor, Henyard can't act above the law. This legal blockade isn't just a setback. It's a significant obstacle in her plan to reshape Dolton in her own image. Her carefully crafted scheme has met a legal brick wall, and if this is just the beginning, one can only imagine what's next for Dolton and for Henyard.
You should pay everybody. Is it the reason why you guys are not paying whatever that vendor is?
What was it for?
It was for shirts. That's what it's for. Usually.
As Henyard's legal troubles continue, her position as Thornton Township supervisor faces an even graver challenge: an in-depth federal investigation. Federal authorities, reportedly alerted to possible misconduct, have now launched a rigorous examination into Henyard's governance, looking specifically at allegations of corruption and mishandling of funds. The stakes are high, and the scope of this investigation is vast. Federal agents are demanding exhaustive documentation from employment records and financial statements to receipts and contracts, seeking any evidence of questionable spending practices or potential misuse of taxpayer dollars. To complicate matters, federal probes like these rarely emerge without cause, and they certainly aren't looking for minor oversights. When the FBI starts combing through years of records, it's typically a signal that substantial evidence or testimony has triggered suspicion. This inquiry, in particular, could bring forth details Henyard has tried to keep under wraps, casting a light on a series of decisions that may have compromised the township's financial stability. For Henyard, this is more than just a legal complication. It's a potentially career-ending crisis. The unfolding investigation threatens not only her political ambitions, but also her reputation, and could result in serious legal consequences. Her allies may soon find themselves reconsidering their support as federal investigators continue to unearth information. It's safe to say that with each new demand for documents, Henyard's hold on her position weakens. This probe isn't just an added stress, it could be the start of a larger reckoning that may leave no corner of her administration untouched.
This administration is shameful. Y'all are a disgrace.
We're watching the fall of this administration.
Yeah.
At the heart of this escalating federal investigation lies Henyard's involvement with the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, a charity ostensibly designed to serve the community but plagued by glaring financial transparency issues. Federal agents are honing in on the foundation's finances, demanding answers about how donations are allocated and exactly who benefits from them. But the scrutiny doesn't stop there. Investigators are now expanding their focus to examine contracts awarded to vendors and law firms with close ties to Henyard's office, probing for any irregularities or potential conflicts of interest. Adding to the intrigue, agents are also digging into Henyard's travel expenses for trips to places like Springfield, Washington, D.C., and Las Vegas. These excursions, marked by lavish accommodations and high spending, are raising red flags, especially as they appear to have been funded by public or charitable funds. Henyard is now under pressure to account for these trips, and from all appearances, the costs may not have come from her own pocket. The investigation's wide reach hints at the possibility of systemic misuse of resources, casting serious doubt on Henyard's commitment to the community she vowed to uplift.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
The ongoing federal investigations are turning out to be extensive and far-reaching, leaving no stone unturned in their pursuit of accountability. What's particularly alarming is the broad scope of the investigation, which not only targets Henyard but also encompasses her inner circle. This development means that every financial decision, every contract awarded, and every dollar spent is now subject to intense scrutiny. It feels as though the walls are steadily closing in around Henyard, a situation that could not come at a more inopportune moment for her. As Henyard grapples with the dual pressures of battling federal agents and navigating the courts, she is also facing a significant backlash from the very people she represents. The residents of Dolton and Thornton have reached a breaking point. They are fed up with her leadership and are vocal about their discontent. Protests have erupted across both towns, with residents passionately demanding that she resign immediately. This public outcry reflects a deep-seated frustration that has been building for some time, fueled by a series of scandals that have plagued her administration. The backlash against Henyard has only intensified due to her handling of public funds. Each week seems to bring forth new revelations of misconduct, from unapproved contracts that bypass due process to significant amounts of money spent on initiatives that have little to do with serving the community. The community is particularly incensed by reports of expenditures that appear to benefit personal interests rather than public needs. As these issues come to light, the calls for accountability grow louder, and Henyard finds herself in an increasingly precarious position. The confluence of legal challenges, public dissatisfaction, and growing unrest paints a grim picture for Henyard's future in office. It is evident that the pressure is mounting from all sides, making it clear that her leadership is under threat. The demands for her resignation are not just a response to the current scandals, but also a broader reflection of the community's desire for transparency and integrity in governance. As the investigation unfolds, it remains to be seen how Henyard will respond to the mounting challenges and whether she can regain the trust of her constituents.
Who would make a one-day purchase of over $40,000 to Amazon? And the main thing is,
One of the most significant outrages among residents revolves around taxpayer-funded billboards that prominently feature Henyard's face and name. These billboards are seen as blatant self-promotion at the expense of the public, sparking widespread criticism. Adding fuel to the fire is the now infamous incident involving a staggering $40,000 spent in a single day on Amazon, with no clear explanation of what was purchased. This lack of transparency has incensed residents who are understandably frustrated by the idea of their hard-earned money being spent on questionable items while the town faces serious financial challenges. But the discontent doesn't stop there. Henyard's leadership style has led to chaos and dysfunction within her administration. Her approach to managing allies and staff has raised concerns, exemplified by the case of Gerald Jones, who worked at the Thornton Township Food Assistance Program. When he had the audacity to report a rodent infestation, a standard protocol in any responsible workplace, he was met with backlash instead of support. In Henyard's world, such a report was seen as a grave misstep, revealing a troubling culture within her administration that discourages transparency and accountability. Residents are increasingly fed up with this pattern of behavior, viewing Henyard's actions as irresponsible and indicative of a larger issue. A leadership that prioritizes personal image and self-interest over the community's well-being. The stark contrast between her lavish spending and the financial struggles facing the town paints a disturbing picture. It's no surprise that public sentiment is rapidly shifting against her. As more scandals emerge and the community demands accountability, the pressure is mounting for Henyard to address her actions and work to restore trust in her leadership.
I am about to address some things as the supervisor. There will be no comments, there will be anything. It will just be me addressing you guys to tell you what's going on.
After reporting the rodent infestation, Gerald Jones found himself in the crosshairs of severe retaliation. Keith Price, who was appointed by Henyard to manage the food assistance program, took it upon himself to make Jones's life a living hell. What followed was a relentless campaign of threats, intimidation, and public humiliation that permeated Jones's daily routine. Each time he raised concerns or complaints about the hostile work environment, the backlash only intensified. Price, seemingly empowered by Henyard's approval, not only denied Jones overtime shifts, but also resorted to threats of violence, insisting that if he didn't back down, he would take things outside. The work atmosphere turned toxic, filled with fear and anxiety, ultimately pushing Jones to leave his position out of concern for his safety. This situation reflects a disturbing trend of unchecked behavior within Henyard's administration, where employees feel vulnerable and unsupported. What's even more troubling is that Henyard appeared to do nothing to halt this retaliation. On the contrary, she seemed to condone Price's actions. This paints a damning picture of a leader who not only allows misconduct to fester, but also actively supports it when it serves her interests. In a workplace that should promote accountability and ethical behavior, Jones's experience serves as a stark contrast. It illustrates a troubling culture where reporting issues leads to punishment rather than resolution. As a result, it's no surprise that Jones has decided to file a lawsuit against the township, claiming retaliatory discharge and workplace harassment. This legal action is just one of many challenges Henyard is currently facing, highlighting the growing discontent among employees and the community. The broader implications of these issues raise significant questions about Henyard's leadership and the overall health of the administrative environment, prompting residents and stakeholders to demand accountability and change.
Saying, no, he's not employed by us. So you have got just this gyration.
Now let's return to Dolton, where the drama continues to unfold. Amid all the chaos, Henyard attempted to fire village administrator Keith Freeman without following the proper procedures. Unsurprisingly, Freeman, who has been a controversial figure in his own right, was not even given the opportunity to defend himself before Henyard declared him out of a job. In a move that feels straight out of a political thriller, Henyard reportedly had her boyfriend, former police chief Liz Lacey, standing guard to prevent any disruption during this chaotic episode. The situation became even more absurd when Henyard claimed that Freeman had been fired during a board meeting, despite the fact that the board had not taken any formal action to dismiss him. This was a blatant power play by Henyard, attempting to circumvent the very system of checks and balances that is essential to the functioning of local government. However, this time, the Board of Trustees refused to comply. They would not accept Freeman's termination and pushed back against Henyard's efforts to appoint her hand-picked replacements. The tension between Henyard and the board highlights a growing rift within the local government, with the board standing firm against what they perceive as overreach by the mayor. This unfolding drama not only reflects the internal strife within Dolton's administration, but also raises serious questions about the integrity of governance in the community. As the situation escalates, residents and officials alike are left to wonder how this power struggle will ultimately affect the future of Dolton and its leadership.
Illegal appointment, that's what the trustees I talked to are calling this. They say the news took them by surprise, and now they're talking to legal counsel to figure out their next steps.
In response to the mounting pressure, Henyard doubled down on her controversial decisions by pushing Michael Smith into the role of village administrator, even though her appointment of him had not received board approval. Furthermore, she appointed Angel Lockett as village attorney and Ronnie Burge as police chief, all without consulting the Board of Trustees. At this point, it's clear that Henyard believes she is above the law, behaving more like a ruler than a mayor. This blatant disregard for the established governance process has not gone unnoticed, and the restraining order that followed is a stark reminder of how her unchecked authority is beginning to crumble. Today, Tiffany Henyard appeared in court to address allegations regarding the illegal appointments she made for several positions within the village. Despite these serious legal challenges, Henyard shows no signs of backing down. She has already indicated plans to appeal the court rulings, which will only prolong the legal battles ahead. Watching this situation unfold is akin to witnessing a slow-motion train wreck, with each new revelation adding fuel to an already blazing fire. Residents of Dolton and Thorndon are left to wonder how long this chaos will continue and how much damage Henyard will inflict before everything comes crashing down. If you think this story couldn't possibly become more outrageous, brace yourself. The public is just as riled up as ever. One comment that stands out among the growing tide of discontent asks, Why is it that this crook has stretched these charges out for so long, while an average citizen would already be in jail? This sentiment captures the prevailing frustration and raises the million-dollar question: how has Henyard managed to evade accountability for so long, while an ordinary person would be behind bars? It's a classic case of power protecting power. Another astute observer noted, Tiffany is losing her stronghold over the trustees, and she can't handle it. She got way too greedy and her time is coming to an end. This statement perfectly encapsulates the situation. Henyard's greed and ambition have finally caught up with her, and the cracks in her power are becoming increasingly apparent. The trustees are no longer playing her game, and her desperation is palpable. It's only a matter of time before her entire empire begins to unravel, leaving both her supporters and opponents questioning what the future holds for Dalton's leadership. As the drama unfolds, one thing is clear: the tension between Henyard and the Board of Trustees is reaching a boiling point, and the community is on the edge of its seat, waiting to see how this saga will ultimately conclude.
Tiffany Henyard in court today over illegal appointments she allegedly made for several positions inside the village, among them.
As the FBI intensifies its deep dive into Henyard's financial dealings, her hold on power becomes increasingly precarious with each passing day. Public opinion is rapidly shifting against her, legal setbacks are piling up, and federal investigators are closing in, leaving many to question how she can survive this political storm. While Henyard may have been able to wield power and intimidate her opponents in the past, the tides are turning, and the system is now pushing back against her actions. The critical question that looms over this situation is, how long can Henyard continue to play this dangerous game? Will she find a way to extricate herself from this mess, or is she finally on the verge of being held accountable for her actions? With the next mayoral election looming just around the corner and the FBI ramping up its scrutiny, her days in office may be numbered. Henyard's current predicament reflects a broader struggle for accountability within local government. As residents witness the fallout from her questionable decisions and the increasingly public nature of her legal troubles, their patience wears thin. Many in the community are eager for change and are beginning to voice their dissatisfaction more vocally. The question of whether Henyard can rally enough support to withstand this onslaught hangs heavily in the air. As the drama unfolds, it's clear that Henyard's story is far from over. We'll be keeping a close watch on the developments in this saga, eager to see how it unfolds and what consequences await her. The implications of these investigations extend beyond Henyard. They also raise important questions about governance, transparency, and the accountability of public officials. So what do you think? Will Henyard find a way to navigate through these scandals and emerge unscathed, or is this the beginning of the end for her political career? We want to hear your thoughts, so share your opinions in the comments below.